James, Concord, New Hampshire, Sirius Satellite, go.
Thank you for taking my call, Mark. Quick question. Help me counter the argument from the left that privileges and immunities under the 14th Amendment, Section 1 and Section 5, basically allows Congress to declare anything it wants a right and force it down upon the states and citizens.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think that's what Congress meant when it passed the 14th Amendment and the states ratified it?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so that's why you're an originalist. What you do is you try and determine, at the time it was passed by Congress and ratified by the states, and you look at what was said at the time, and you use the intent of the people at the time, what was meant. Now, the 14th Amendment was one of the post-Civil War amendments, and it was not aimed at empowering Congress to do whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted, or no state would have ratified it. So you can tell them that that may be their interpretation of it today, but that certainly was not the view of it at the time it was drafted, passed by Congress, and ratified by the states. So they're wrong. Hello.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, my friend. Thank you. The libs are always going to speak as if the world began today, ladies and gentlemen. This is how they operate with the so-called living and breathing Constitution. In other words, it's not a Constitution at all. They view the Constitution as A, antiquated, B, something they have to pretend that they're complying with, and C, something to twist and to spin. We'll be right back. Let us go to Pat, Montgomery County, Maryland, the great WMAL. Go.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right.
You ever heard of a drop program?
A what now?
A drop program.
No.
No, you never heard of them?
No.
Okay. See, you know, this whole public fiasco that they've been pulling over our eyes, this program allowed public employees to collect their retirement while still working.
What?
Yep. Go look it up. I'm telling you, man, they have scammed us as the general public. And, you know, we've just allowed them to just slide these legislations through the county council, and nobody said no. They just said, oh, it didn't cost us anything. And they cost us plenty.
So you're saying in Montgomery County, Maryland, people can start getting their retirement while they're working?
Yep. It goes in an account. And guess what? Some of them get 8% return on it.
Well, that's stunning. Now, 8%. How do you know, without revealing yourself, how do you know that?
Because I can't. I can't reveal who I am.
Mm-hmm. That's stunning. I'll take a look at that. But yeah, so people are getting wise to this. See?
No, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. Okay, this was done 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right,
so you
friend.
have a lot of folks now who are collecting their pension in an account, getting 8%, and still on the force or still in government, and nobody knows what's going on. Only a few people know.
All right, Pat. Thanks for tipping us off. You take care. The problem, the public sector union bosses, particularly at the NEA, the problem that they have is the more the people learn, the more disgusted they're going to become. This is their problem. For years and years and years, we heard the line, this one's underpaid, that one's underpaid, and so people just accepted it. They're not going to accept it anymore. And the American people are going to revolt against it. They're just not going to put up with it anymore. And notice how far behind the curve the news media are. Do they report on the drop program in the Washington Post? No. Do they report on what's going on in California in any of the major newspapers there? No. But we will. We'll be right back. 3811. You know, we have great people on our fan site, marklevinfan.com. Great people on our Free Republic thread every evening that goes live there, freerepublic.com. Wonderful people, too, on our social sites like Facebook. And, of course, you can go to marklevinshow.com. That's our great website. It's all free. But I have to laugh. Somebody, Zeth Thomas, posts a cover of my book, but instead of my face, there's Obama's. And instead of the title of my book, Liberty and Tyranny, he calls it Tyranny and Tyranny. Very clever. So they had this vote in the Wisconsin Assembly passing Walker's budget bill, which includes addressing certain aspects of collective bargaining for certain public sector unions. And after the vote, this is what happened. These are the Democrats in the Wisconsin assembly today. Cut 2, go. Wow. How about that? What a civil bunch. I'm sure that'll be on Meet the Depressed on Sunday. Don't bother watching it. We'll monitor it for you. It's not like we want to drive the ratings up. I told you the other day that, I think it was yesterday, that Social Security payments continued during the so-called government shutdown as I was starting to research this. And we started to analyze this and see there's a lot of payments that are made. I also pointed out that there are essential and non-essential employees. The Border Patrol doesn't leave. The FBI doesn't leave. The CIA doesn't leave. A lot of the paper pushers leave, and that's a good thing. We are going to survive a government shutdown. Now, that's not to say the media won't do what it did during the Reagan administration or did during when Newt Gingrich was Speaker, which is try and find soup lines, homeless shelters, national parks that are closed with people whining, I wanted to go, but I couldn't go. I needed a bologna sandwich, but I couldn't get one. And by the way, keep in mind this is the same media that hasn't found a single soup line that I've seen or homeless shelter. They did it all during the Reagan administration. I remember because I was in the inside looking out. But you don't find them now. No, not with this persistent, almost 10% unemployment, almost 20% underemployment and underemployment. Where are all the stories about how many homeless people are there? We have no idea. They don't tell us. How many people are going hungry tonight because of this economy? They don't tell us. But the minute the government shut down, they'll find all those people because the vast majority of us will be completely unaffected by this. All right, Ernie, in our Washington News Bureau, go to the homeless shelter. Okay, yes. Go to the food pantries and show the empty shelves. Hurry up. Go now. Go. And all because of the government shutdown. Of course, none of it exists today. But the Associated Press, they must be listening in, as they should be. They have this title, Psst, no shutdown during a government shutdown. Social Security checks will still go out. Did you know that before I said it yesterday? I'll bet most of you didn't. I didn't. Troops would remain at their posts. Furloughed federal workers probably would get paid, though not until later, and virtually every essential government agency, the FBI, Border Patrol, and Coast Guard, would remain open. That's the little-known truth about a government shutdown. Excuse me, I said it yesterday. And it won't shut down on March 5, even if the combatants on Capitol Hill can't resolve enough differences to pass a stopgap spending bill to fund the government while they hash out legislation to cover the last 7 months of the budget year. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this sounds weird. I talked about it 2 weeks ago. If the government shuts down, despite all the liberal media propaganda, the vast majority of Americans are going to be unaffected. And I want to tell you, Republican leaders, for the 5th time in a week, stand strong. What's going to happen is the American people are going to realize the world's not coming to an end. That's what's going to happen. Stand strong. Stand on your principles. Stick with the cuts. Make sure you explain that Reid and Obama and all their support mechanisms, all the hoodlums who support them, want to shut down the government because they don't want to cut enough spending. Make it clear that you're doing this to defend future generations because all this crap is going to be piled onto them and it's going to smother them. So you're standing up for your kids and your grandkids, and that's exactly what you're doing from these profligate, piggish, insatiable leftists. And then if they shut it, they shut it. Have your strategy ready. But we're going to see that the world's not coming to an end. How did we manage to survive without all those bureaucrats at the EPA? How did we manage to survive without all those bureaucrats working feverishly? Their 4-hour days and their 3-hour lunches. Oh, I know, I'm overstating it. I wish they had 3-hour lunches so they weren't busy spitting out regulations and orders and all the rest of it. That said, who cares if they go home for 3 or 4 weeks? I want them to go home for 3 or 4 weeks. I want them to leave. I want them to leave us alone. Bye. And no, they shouldn't be paid after it's all said and done. They're being furloughed or pink slipped for a period of time. We've all been out of work. I don't know anybody. I mean, many years ago, I was out of work for 13 months. I went through all my pension money. It was private. I went through every nickel I had. All the equity in my home, and it took me years to make it back. That's what you do. That's what you do. You don't want to do it, but you have to do it. You need to survive, and you want to protect your family. Mark, did you take any government money? No, I didn't, but I came close. Close. But I didn't. And by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't. You've paid into these systems forever and ever. That doesn't mean you should get 2 years' worth of unemployment. But if you need a short period of time to feed your family, I get that. I'm not opposed to that. What I don't get is when it's out never ending. That I don't get. But the point is, if the government shuts down, the vast majority of the American people are going to be unaffected. The Border Patrol, the FBI, the CIA, they're all still going to be working. It's the non-essential employees, by their own definition, by the government's own definition. My attitude is we need a reprieve from these people. My attitude is they need to experience reality. When the economy's bad, it does affect people, and those in the government need to be affected too. So it's really a good lesson. And by the way, notice Obama just dumps it all in Congress's lap and then does his thing. Motown today, I don't know, tomorrow, got a basketball schedule for Sunday. Maybe he'll fly off here and play some golf. You ever seen a man so aloof? World's going to hell. People are suffering in his country. By the way, when's the last time he visited a soup line or a homeless shelter? David Gregory. I'm sure you're on top of that, aren't you? Tell you why I resent what's going on here. When I served in the Reagan administration, the attacks on Nancy Reagan were endless. She would borrow these evening gowns from these designers to wear at state dinners. They would viciously attack her as being out of touch. Michelle Obama hires a designer, in effect, puts her on the public payroll to do just that. And if you dare to say anything about it, the folks at Politico get very, very upset. The same Politico with Mr. Vogel over there trashing Sarah Palin endlessly. The same people trashing Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, endlessly. Suddenly they're very concerned. Here we have Michelle Obama trying to impose her eating agenda on us while she eats something else. Oh, my God, did they talk about that? Look how they're attacking the defenseless Michelle Obama. Sarah Palin, beat her into the ground. Ginny Thomas, beat her into the ground. Michelle Bachmann, beat her into the ground. Michelle Obama, oh, how rude. What a joke. Then Nancy Reagan, coming after the Carters, mind you, Nancy Reagan decided that the White House needed a full set of china for these dinners. They were mixing and matching and broken plates and everything like that. So what did she do? Well, if she'd been Michelle Obama, she would have simply demanded that her husband put some line item in some budget and have us pay for it. What Nancy Reagan did is she raised the money privately. And through private funds, they bought new White House china, for which she was viciously attacked. Look at that. We've got these food lines. Reagan making budget cuts and tax cuts for the rich. Look at this. They're so out of touch, the Reagans. Michelle Obama flies to Vail, has her ribs, whatever else she ate, and she's defended in an economic climate like that. Yeah, it's disgusting. That's why you folks in the media, you're despised by the American people. They despise you. I can't say I blame them. There's a lot to despise. We'll be right back.